Hello beautiful people and welcome back to the channel. The topic of this video is actually the new Air Force hero which will come today after his set. Presumably the name will be Felicia, so we have some leaks which are not very well translated, but still we can evaluate this hero. This new hero is an alternative to Com and Hazel, which was introduced around 6 months ago. So this hero is an offense buffing hero just like Hazel and will give you a 95% attack increase. That's why we call him an offense buffing hero. And on top of this, he has a chance to add ignition on the opponent's targets. Now, when it comes down to this ignition, you have to really pay attention to every single word I'm saying in order to understand even better. So on top of the ignition, if the slots of your opponents already have this ignite effect from another hero, then they will gonna do an extra 80% more damage. So first side note right here, on the ignition actually stacks. So you have the ignition from this hero, you have the ignition with Hazel. You shouldn't use Hazel with this new hero. You also have the ignition from Barbie, you have also the ignition from Maximo. So all this will stack together, but there is a small disadvantage which I'm going to explain to you towards the end of the video. So now let's start with the special skill. Now this level 3 will gonna give you just 30% HP. That's not much, but so is also level 3. It's very easily reachable. Now we jump to the level 5 special skill, and this will gonna give you a 25 HP shield, which is way higher than the 30% HP. And on top of this, you're gonna get a 45% chance to ignite 3 extra targets. Also on this level 5 skill, we also see them mentioning that this hero won't be affected by the jammer, but this hero can be silenced. So before I explain you the level 7, we do indeed have to explain the 2 extra effects which this hero has, because why not make a very complicated hero when nowadays every single game out there does their best to simplify the game as best as possible so the people can understand it better, so we can test it even easier and so on. So this hero has 2 extra kind of skills or effect. They are named like Easy Pan and Easy Shatter. Now of course this name can be differently once the hero is launched, because these names may be a translation issue. So now is the exact moment in which you really have to pay attention when I'm talking about the ignite effect. If the slots have the ignition from Felicia, so not from Hazel, not from Maximo, not from Barbie, the next abnormal effect will gonna cause an extra 35% damage. Abnormal effects are considered to be the attack power reduction effect, or the ignition itself, or a stun effect, or the inability to attack, which is in other words the jammer. On top we have a very strange sentence which may be a translation issue, so this damage cannot be superimposed. Now please leave your thoughts in the comments. What I presume, without having the hero right now in order to test, we'll do that after reset. What I presume is actually this damage cannot be dodgeable. Maybe that's exactly what they mean. So that was the Easy Pan skill. Now she has a second one called the Easy Shatter. Of course, keep in mind the name can be different. So what is this Easy Shatter effect? If the opponent's units are affected by the previous skill, which I just explained, the Easy Pan, then when Felicia's gonna trigger again her ignition, it's gonna add a vulnerable effect of the same amount. So this hero causes a lot of ignition, which they're gonna stack. It's also gonna give you an extra damage depending on the ignition, and it also even can add you a vulnerable buff on top, which is an extra damage incoming for the opponent. Now let's explain the level 7. So all enemy units must be ignited before they receive this effect of Easy Pan and Easy Shatter. So in other words, having the level 7, we're going to ensure that these 2 extra skills will be added once the opponent slots, all of them will have the ignite. So in other words, this means you're gonna get the maximum performance out of this hero. So we are done in explaining the hero. Now let's do some side evaluation regarding this hero. So the first point I want to make here, that everything about this hero is tied to the ignite effect. And we see a huge amount of buffs and extra damage and so on. But the problem is actually the ignite itself. So let me give you an example. So let's assume you have the ignition on the opponent's slot number 1. Now he can have the ignite from the new hero plus Hazel plus every single ignite in this game. Yeah, on slot number 1. As soon as he gets his turn to hit you from the slot number 1, all the ignition effects will be consumed. All of them. They will all gonna disappear, and that slot will gonna take that certain amount of damage before he is allowed to hit. So this leads me to point number 2, which is the team in charge of developing the Air Force hero must be on holidays, and probably the team which are developing the Navy heroes, aka the last Navy hero we just got, must have developed this hero. Conclusion number 3. Now I told you guys a few weeks ago that either way this hero will be gonna be a very interesting hero from a certain perspective. And this perspective is Barbie. Now Barbie, from my opinion, was not a full success in order to replace Maximo, so they must try again. So we see they are aiming for Hazel while having the Barbie fiasco. So in other words, what I understand out of this, they planned this hero somewhere 3-4 months ahead, and on top of this, the team doesn't quite have the manpower to react. Next conclusion, this hero versus Hazel. Now on paper, yes, she looks stronger than Hazel, but we do have to get our hands on this hero in order to test by how much her performance overall is better than Hazel in order to actually to justify, is it worth to take Hazel out, yes or no? And the final conclusion is which hero configuration we have right now with this new hero. Point number 1, I would strongly advise you against using Hazel and this hero in the same match for multiple reasons, but the stronger reason is of course you only have just one slot left in your match. Point number 2, you can use this hero with Barbie because Barbie does actually extra damage if the targets are ignited, so that's a good thing, and that leaves us actually with the third hero. So which hero should be best? As a third hero, we have only 2 alternatives. You either use Shinji or Striker, or you use Maximo. So why is that? Because this new hero Felicia plus Barbie, the HP shield from both these heroes will be a great alternative for the indestructible buff of Shinji. But on the other hand, for me personally, Shinji is not just the indestructible buff, it's also his massive damage, so yes, he is also plan B for me, helping doing extra damage. So the conclusion looks something like this. You can use this new hero Felicia together with Barbie and together with Shinji or Striker. Option number 2 is to use this new hero plus Barbie plus Maximo. And of course the option number 3, this high amount of RNG effects won't lead in a very significant higher performance than you have with Hazel. So yes, after we test this hero, it's also possible that I may recommend you guys, you know what, you can actually skip this hero. So beautiful people, this is how I evaluate this hero. This is how the hero looks like. Of course, after reset, I leave these 2 options on the table. Should I make just a simple video about the hero, or should I start a stream in which you guys can come and we can actually play together and draw the conclusion live together? So would you like to influence my decision? Yes, of course. Leave a like, hit the subscribe button, and of course add your thoughts in the comments. That being said, beautiful people, I wish you a fantastic day and don't forget to see me in the next episode.